First, on behalf of myself, Mr. Shirley, and even Mr. Wilson, I want to thank you for the attention you've given through these proceedings. I know there's been some portions that have been rather rough, so thank you. I want to get up here and I want to argue about premeditation. I mean, we're not arguing whether these ladies are dead. We're not arguing, but the premeditation. First off, let's go through the timeline. He and Jason Shepard meet Miss Melton and Amy Slobodian, I think her name was, at the Buddha. He goes home, leaves Melissa Montanez, his girlfriend, there, takes her car, and apparently Jason drove them back to Miss Melton's house. They have sex. They have consensual sex. Jason Shepard said so. And then something happened. I suspect it was the drugs. Shepard was saying, oh yeah, we were doing cocaine, just not my cocaine. That was for me. Well, if you listen to the statement that was played yesterday, Mr. Wilson talks about using flocka. That is not good stuff. It puts holes in your brain.
Objection, facts not in evidence.
Sustained.
Anyway, at some point between 2 and 4, maybe, Miss Slobodian leaves and something goes wrong. Miss Montanez described it. Killer eyes, 2 black holes, no soul, as she put it. Kills Miss Melton, wraps her up. Why? Rather than premeditation, I would submit to you that the judge is going to give you an instruction on second-degree murder. And one of the, or also known as depraved mind murder. I don't think anyone can argue that none of this was not depraved. But in order to commit second-degree murder, there must be an unlawful killing by an act imminently dangerous to another, no one's arguing that, demonstrating a depraved mind without regard for human life. An act includes a series of related actions arising from and performed pursuant to a single design or purpose. An act is, quote, imminently dangerous to another and demonstrating a depraved mind, end quote, if it is an act or a series of acts that a person of ordinary judgment would know is reasonably certain to kill or do serious bodily injury to another, no question about that, is done from ill will, hatred, spite, or an evil intent, and is of such a nature that the act itself indicates an indifference to human life. Whatever he was doing, nobody's arguing was not depraved. Look at the timeline. Miss Melton was murdered sometime between 2 and 4, maybe, when Miss Slobodian left. She had to go to work. Then there's the incident about 7:30, 8 o'clock with Miss Montanez. According to her fiance, Miss Ruiz, was going to work between 9 and sometime between 9 and 11. She left the house. So the contact between Mr. Wilson and Miss Ruiz is on a road in broad daylight. This isn't some kidnapping in the middle of the night. This is in broad daylight. Again, it's almost a carbon copy of Miss Melton. Again, running over the body 10 to 20 times. Nobody's saying that's not depraved. We're not arguing he didn't do it. There's solid evidence that he is responsible for those 2 deaths and the battery of Miss Montanez. But Miss Montanez's testimony, you need to think about that, whether this was premeditated in term. I mean, Miss Melton had sex with him. He could have just gotten up and left or stayed with her. Instead, he murders her. That's not clear thinking, shall we say. I'm not arguing insanity. I'm just arguing that the state's claiming premeditation, and I'm saying he's whacked out. He's just out of his mind for any of this. The only other point I'd like to make is the burglary. Okay. Burglary of the Amlin house. The second element. At the time of entering, not after you're inside, at the time of entering the structure, Wade Wilson had the intent to commit theft in that structure. No, he was hiding from the police. Remember, this was after the incident with Officer McCormick. He helped himself to the food. I'm not claiming he didn't commit petty theft, but the reason he went into the house is because he was hiding out from the cops. So I don't believe you had a felony. You had a burglary. The judge is going to advise you about a lesser charge of trespass. Again, I respectfully request that you consider whether this was premeditated or depraved mind murder. Now, based on the rules of procedure, I don't get a chance to come back up here. The state does. So I need you to consider what they're going to argue to you in their closing argument, because I don't get a chance to rebut it. I thank you for the attention you've given, and appreciate your assistance in this case. Thank you.